Absolutely.
Today we wanted to talk to you about Russ says it fructose.
It's high fructose
corn syrup. And we've talked before about how it's not a health food. It's not really a great thing for you. It's sweeter than sugar. Your body responds to it with a higher adrenaline push than it does to insulin push than it does to sugar. So it's not a great food. It's not a good option. But it is subsidized by the government.
Yes.
And so it is cheap. It's super cheap because the government subsidizes corn. You and I, our tax dollars subsidize corn, and therefore we are subsidizing high fructose corn syrup.
So you can eat it, they can put it in your gas tank. There's just so much stuff they can do with it.
Yep, absolutely. And they like to hide it in food. Mm-hmm. They being, big industry, big food. Because it's cheap and it's very easy to add to pretty much anything, and it makes foods very sweet. And so obviously the standard American palate, which is very addicted to sweets, ends up really expecting that. It's interesting. They actually do panels where they test what's the right amount of sweetness to put in tomato paste or tomato sauces or whatever. They actually do panels for it. So it's in pretty much everything. If you're eating something that's packaged, it probably has high fructose corn syrup in it. And they've recently changed the laws on how they have to list it in the ingredients.
And this is sad, actually. I mean, it's like the government's working against us.
Right.
The USDA and the RDA, they work against us. We try to stay healthy. They try to find ways to get you to keep using pharmaceuticals.
And so what has happened is the big food has realized that people have started to recognize high fructose corn syrup as something that is not a health food. It's not good for them. And so people have started avoiding it. And so what they've done is gotten the laws changed on how they have to list it in the ingredients lists. So I wanted to share with you some new ways. And I don't know how new these are. They're new to me. A lot of them I had not seen before. But what you might find is that, and this shocked me, apparently they're allowed to say on the front, which we've told you anything on the front of a package is marketing. It's marketing. They're allowed to say that something has no high fructose corn syrup in it as long as on the back they use isolated fructose, which means that they've isolated the sugar in a different way. And so they can say isolated fructose in the ingredients, but on the front of the package say there's no high fructose corn syrup in it. So just because the front of the package says no high fructose corn syrup in it does not mean it's true.
Right. Read the ingredients, as we always say.
You have to look for isolated fructose. Another one that they're allowed to use is natural sweeteners. We've talked to you about how natural flavors can mean pretty much anything. It means that the chemical compound exists somewhere on the planet. Hey, Valerie.
Good morning, Valerie.
So natural sweeteners typically is going to mean high fructose corn syrup. And of course, they're allowed to say on the front of the package that it's 100% natural because it comes from corn.
It comes from corn, absolutely.
So it's natural.
And keep in mind, I mean, sodas usually, so you wonder why you can go to a restaurant, say for instance, and get a soda fountain, and it's unlimited. It's because it costs them virtually nothing to give you that beverage.
To make it, yeah.
And that's
the
why
cup is more expensive than anything else.
Than the beverage, exactly. And that's why these soda companies no longer put sucrose, which is their standard table sugar, into their product because it's too expensive.
It's more expensive.
You know?
It frustrates you, I know.
It does, because they found a way to take a product that's actually more unhealthy than sugar.
Right.
Than standard table sugar.
Exactly.
And put it in the food.
Exactly. So another thing you can look for, so if ingredients are going to stop saying high fructose corn syrup, you have to look for just fructose syrup. It's going to say that on there. So look for that. So isolated fructose syrup, natural sweeteners is another one. Another one that they've started using, and this one blows my mind, is HFCS-90. So the actual acronym, HFCS, high fructose corn syrup, -90. And the first time I saw that, I thought that it meant that it was 90%, so it was less. It wasn't 100%, it was less than. But what it actually means, this is crazy. What it actually means is that it's 90% pure fructose, and the regular high fructose corn syrup is only 40 to 50% pure fructose. So if you see HFCS 90, it's actually more
sugar,
sweetener. I don't even know what to call it. Condensed.
More concentrated.
More concentrated. And what's really funny is they're allowed to use HFCS 90 with words like light and diet because they have to use so little of it to give it a lot of flavor, a lot of sweetness for your taste buds to pick it up as very sweet. And so you can see foods that say diet or light or whatever words they use to say this is better for you than whatever other thing they're comparing it to, and it can have HFC 90 in it. So look for that in your ingredients list. Now, obviously, if you're not eating packaged foods, it's not a thing for you. You don't have to read ingredients because you're not reading packaged foods. But Russ and I do periodically. We just bought goji berries.
Yes, we did.
And we both of us, when we saw them, we picked them up and we turned them over to see what's in them.
First place we go is the ingredients.
And it literally just had goji berries in it, which we were pretty happy about. But if you're turning your packages over and looking for ingredients, you do need to look for these things. And they are very prevalent in vegan foods because it is a natural product. It's made from corn. It is vegan. It's going to be in those foods. We've told you before that the word vegan does not equal healthy. They are not the same thing.
There are a lot of unhealthy vegans out there.
And there's a
lot of junk food.
A lot of unhealthy vegan food. Like that's just the reality. If you want whole foods, then that's different. And so go ahead.
I was just going to say, I can't think of the company, but it was just bought by, I don't know if it was Nabisco or whatever, but some major food company that puts out junk just bought a vegan company. And, they're just going to swamp it with unnatural ingredients because it's vegan. They're just going to keep it vegan, but it's not going to be healthy.
Well, so what is happening is that the food market is starting to realize that people are trying to be healthier. And in an effort to be healthier, people are trying to move toward plant-based. And food companies are realizing if they can slap the word vegan on something, regardless of whether it's healthy or not, they can market it to people who are trying to be healthier by, being more plant-based.
We were at the natural food store and we were looking at some of the frozen food dishes that they offer there, and the ingredients are just as long as if you bought just standard American diet food.
Yes.
They have the oils, they have the sugars, they have all these different things you can't pronounce that make them vegan.
They're still vegan. They're not animal products. But, so you might be wondering, okay, if this high fructose corn syrup stuff is so bad for us, why is corn okay? And I love corn in food because it does add a sweetness. I love carrots because they add sweetness. So you might be wondering if high fructose corn syrup and isolated fructose and natural sweetener and HFCS 90 and all these other things that they use to hide high fructose corn syrup in food, if we're warning you about those and telling you to look out for them, why is corn okay? And the answer to that is corn is a whole food. It has all of the nutrients attached to it. It has the fiber attached to it. And it actually comes with stuff that's good for you. Now, would I tell you to eat corn exclusively? No, I wouldn't. There's not a single plant out there I would tell you to eat exclusively.
It's all about variety.
But as part of a healthy dish, if you like corn, eat it, chew it, obviously.
Yes.
It requires chewing if to get any value.
Yeah, don't dry and extract the sugar from it.
Yeah, don't dry it, extract the sugar, and that's not so. The whole corn is fine. Absolutely, you should eat that. I have no problem if you want to eat it frozen. If you're eating it canned, make sure that they haven't added anything to it, preservatives or whatever, and make sure that they're using a can lining that isn't going to seep into it. But I would recommend, we have frozen corn. I put frozen corn in everything. It's in the chili, it's in our no tuna salad. Frozen corn and frozen peas are like my go-to vegetables in the wintertime.
And they will sweeten the dishes, you said.
And because our palates are so sensitive to sweet, because we don't eat the standard American diet, corn does add a sweetness for us to foods. So I am not telling you not to eat corn. Corn is fabulous, but high fructose corn syrup and all of the bazillions of things that they've started to hide it behind is not a health food.
I mean, another way to look at it too is just like we say oil is not healthy, but olives, you can eat olives. Olives are fine. But when you start extracting it and you're concentrating, you're taking all the nutrients out of it other than the one substance that you're looking for, the one ingredient. And you're
Which usually has
concentrating it.
calories and no nutrients.
Right, that's usually the case. And it's so concentrated and it's so dense that you couldn't eat enough corn to equal, the amount of corn syrup you're getting.
Right.
In like a processed food.
That's very, very good point. So absolutely watch out for high fructose corn syrup. If you're eating processed foods of any kind, make sure you turn it over. And realize if you are eating out, if you are eating in a restaurant, your food has high fructose corn syrup in it, even if it's vegan. It just does. They add sweeteners, they add oil. That's why the food tastes so good. They add salt, sugar, and fat to it.
And they go and they don't use sugar anymore. They use the high fructose corn syrup because it's less expensive.
It's subsidized.
And if your business is selling food, You know, margin.
That
It's all about
margin is the
margins.
thing, yep. Is there anything else you want to add about that?
No, I guess we're gonna do a little earlier today.
We're still at 11 minutes.
Yes, that's earlier compared to yesterday. when
Yesterday
had
we went 19.
Right.
Yeah. So if you guys have questions about high fructose corn syrup, make sure you ask. I just wanted to kind of give you, hey, they're hiding it this way. Give you some tips on that. Make sure that you've liked our page.